Sure, thank you. Given that each of you have perspectives that are regionalized across ASEAN, I'm curious to know if we could loosely apply the findings of this to each other member nation, or if there are notable differences that you might expect to come out of a similar index produced region.
Donny, if I could, you have a regional role as well within Standard Chartered, so what's your sense or feel in terms of whether this replicates across the region?
Tom, thanks for the question. Very interesting. Maybe the answer is yes and no. Yes, in a sense, because the sentiment on ASEAN, if you look at the global economic outlook right now, the consensus in the market is that there's a fragmentation sort of and structural divergence between, you just look at the GDP growth outlook for this year. It's across Eurozone, sort of very challenging. US seems to be a bit more rational. China is not quite back up yet to pre-COVID level. India and ASEAN are the two big sort of performance, if you will. ASEAN collectively, but not everybody in ASEAN. Because you've got differences actually in ASEAN sort of markets. The VIP of ASEAN is Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines. By the way, that's interesting. The highest GDP growth are the three countries for the outlook this year, and those are the three countries with over 100 million populations. So they call the VIP. That's the Philippines Minister of Finance actually that coined the term. Actually, I met him last week actually in DC, and he was saying actually it's VIP, so it's interesting. But anyway, but the point is actually not everything actually perhaps actually can be applied, because that sentiment about Indonesia, maybe actually one could say actually the same thing about Vietnam or the Philippines, and maybe less so about some of the other markets. So there's actually a balancing. I think actually this is very distinct, very specific about Indonesia. I remember that Indonesia is the largest economy in ASEAN, despite some of the challenges like the corruption that we talked about and so on that came out in the survey. But there are some strategic sort of values that no other ASEAN countries actually have. Not just in terms of the population, but also the critical mineral, for example, and the sort of, it is actually a huge country. When you talk about tourism, hospitality, and others, actually, I think that will set Indonesia apart. So yes and no in that sense. I hope that makes sense.